welcome again to another episode of Psych Talk with Theo, where human behavior is discussed and explored in a real way. You know, guys, I just can't go further without telling you thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my video. But before we get into the topic of loving ourselves, can we take a minute, to just talk a little bit? Gone are the days when persons believe that we have to be mentally ill to see a therapist. Yes? But truth be told, just the way we take care of our bodies by going to the gym and eating right and wearing good clothes, we should also take care of our minds. Well, that's where the counseling center in Jamaica comes in. A lot is going on in the world, guys. Persons are losing their job like never before, and their family stresses because of this pressures, and the pressures and cares of this world are just really affecting us one way or another. Yes, there are good things also going on in the world, but at this point, especially between 2020 and now, there's a lot going on, and the counseling center is here. The counseling center is here to offer their services in grief counseling, individual and group counseling, couples counseling, which is very important, because the family unit is very important. We have to work to keep the family together. Yes, counseling for adolescents and children. Of course, minors must be accompanied by their parents if they need counseling. They also help with depression and anxiety. Or if you had a breakup and you just don't know who to talk to, and chances are that you'd prefer to talk to a complete stranger, call the counseling center and talk to them. They are a great group of counselors, professional, who is ready to sit and listen. And as you know, listening to someone is very important, not necessarily to always be giving advice and suggestions. Sometimes you just need someone to listen to. Yes, and they offer these services, whether you're a male or a female, right? A group of professional counselors are just waiting to help you to heal those emotional wounds, right? And if it's not an emotional wound, sometimes you just need someone to listen to. Maybe you just need a 1 session or a 2 session, 1 hour each. They're there, right? They are located at 18 to 20 West Avenue, Kingston, Jamaica. Or you can reach them at 1-876-337-8887 or 1-876-832-2898. Now, as I said, the topic tonight is loving ourselves. And if I randomly ask someone, do you love yourselves? More than likely the answer will be, of course. I love myself. How can I not love myself? But how many of us really do love ourselves? Take a minute to think about it. Do I really love myself? Loving ourselves means bonding with ourselves before we can bond with anyone else. It is important for us to love ourselves, know ourselves, be true to ourselves before we can court and get into marriage. And remember, my previous videos are about premarital counseling, dating, and courting. So there are stages to this, and we have to we have to make sure that we cover all these areas before we actually get into marriage. Yes, so it is taking great care of ourselves spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Some persons would say it's a body, mind, and soul things. Yes, so loving ourselves manifests or show in the way we show genuine love to others, how we are able to freely give without expecting anything in return, how we are able to genuinely compliment others. Some persons are not able to give a compliment, yes, but we're going to get into that later. You know, sleeping and eating properly, that's very important. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating properly, then your mind will not be working. You will be anxious, you will be irritable, and you might just have ailments down the road. And if you're not able to take care of yourself, you cannot take care of anyone else. Yes, very important also is forgiving ourselves. Did you know though that unforgiveness can cause illness? It can. So most importantly, forgiving, our forgiveness is not so much for the other person but ourselves. When we forgive persons, it takes a load off of us and it makes us healthier to do that. Yes, but it does not mean that we are not going to take responsibility. We are not going to be responsible for our loved ones. We have to take time to also care for our loved ones. Yes, but just like when we are in an airplane and that mask comes off, that the mask comes down from the airplane, they tell you that when the mask comes down, you have to put your the oxygen mask on in order to take care of somebody else. It's the same concept, it's the same principle. We have to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of our loved ones, before we can take care of our children and our spouses, right? Allowing ourselves to go through our emotions instead of being afraid of them, right? That is another thing. We have to allow ourselves to go through the emotions. Don't suppress them. When you suppress them, it is not healthy for us. When we suppress our emotions, when we suppress if something bad happens to us and we try not to deal with it. Yes, so what does this mean though? Going through the emotion and instead of being afraid of them. Well, as I said, when there's a feeling of joy, allow yourself to bask in it. Right? Feel your emotions, be one with it, accept them. When there's a feeling of joy, allow yourself to bask in it instead of feeling guilty or feeling that you don't deserve to be happy. We all deserve to be happy, right? And when the pain and grief comes, allow yourself to go through the process of grief. Yes, there's a process of grief. One theorist by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross describes the steps in the grieving process as denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And when you are in denial in the grieving process, for example, if there is a death or there is a separation in a relationship, it's still a grieving process. So whether it's a death or a separation, not believing that the person has left or the person has died, that's the denial stage, right? And then the anger stage is with the person, you're angry with the person for leaving and also angry with yourself, right? Whether the person has died or whether it's a separation in a relationship. And there's bargaining. You know, you're bargaining for example with God. Oh God, if the person comes back, I'll be a better person. Or if you heal the person, I'll become a Christian. That's the bargaining stage. And then you go into depression, becoming deeply saddened to the point of depression. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to have a bath. You don't want to eat. You have no appetite. Right? Those are signs of depression if it goes on for a certain period of time. Right? And then there's acceptance, arriving at a place emotionally where you accept that the person is gone or ill, and there's nothing that you can possibly do, and you have to move on, right, with your life. So that's the acceptance stage. It might not be as linear as the way I am saying it, but there is a stages that you go through, and we have to go through those stages, right? It is healthy to go through it, and it is healthy when you can identify, that this is the stage that I'm in, and I just have to go through it. It is a natural thing. And so you if it is that it is too much for you to handle, this is where a therapist comes in. You can safely, the therapist can safely guide you and give you the necessary tools to help you to heal these emotional wounds, right? So just the way how you would physically get a cut and you would go around, you wouldn't go around with it being exposed and susceptible to a harmful bacteria. You would clean it, address it, and make sure that it is healed. And if you think it isn't healing fast enough, you would go to the doctor. Well, it's the same concept for our minds. When we cannot handle a certain emotion for ourselves, we should see a therapist, yes? And there's absolutely no shame in seeing a therapist. It's called self-care and being true to ourselves, yes? So when we love ourselves, what you're doing is making sure that all areas are being healthy first, so that we can take care of ourselves, yes? All areas of our lives, the spiritual, the physical, the mental, is healthy, right? So sometimes not being able to love ourselves come from how we were treated as children, right? We didn't get the praise and the love and all of this. Some of us were abused physically and emotionally. Some of us were not given praise and positive reinforcement. When we get our report card and we come home with it, and we, or we complete a task, we were not complimented. You're such a good boy, you're such a good girl. Did you really get this? Oh wow, you're just so awesome. Some of us never heard that. And so we grow up not being able to give compliments. So we grow up not liking ourselves because of the things we hear, the things we were told as children. Some of us were compared to our siblings or our neighbors, right? And so we become adults and we don't know how to love ourselves, and by extension not being able to show love to others, yes? We're not able to show love to our children, our spouses. We might love them, but we don't know how to express that love because we were not taught how to love and how to show love. So in most cases, you'll find that it's a generational transmission, right? When our parents were not shown how to love by their parents, and so they didn't learn how to love, and so they didn't know how to show us love, and it goes down throughout the generation, right? And so it is important to stop that cycle. It is important for us to understand that this is not healthy, and to identify it and to get help if we need the help, right? In order to stop this cycle. So what happens as we begin to learn, though, how to show love? Our trust in others grow as well, right? We become more assertive, more confident in the way we operate. We are now confident to set boundaries and limitations for ourselves, right? We don't allow people to treat us any and anyhow. We don't allow people to say toxic things to us, to do toxic things to us, and these things that are not in keeping with our values and our morals, right? We know how to put a stop to it. Yes, gently put a stop to it, make our boundaries, right? And maintain those boundaries, right? So this brings me to the end of this topic. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will know when a new video comes in, right? I love you guys. Thank you again for liking and sharing, and remember, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Thank you so much again for watching. Bye bye.